Did you know that math anxiety can start as early as kindergarten? This affects nearly half of all elementary students. Now, this silent struggle not only hinders academic performance, it also creates a ripple effect, disrupting the entire classroom's learning environment. When I was little, I loved time tests. I was great at memorizing facts, but when it came to applying those facts to actual problems, I struggled and I felt like a failure. If you find time tests dreadful, hit that like button. And it's like a farmer growing coffee beans, but failing to make coffee with them, right? What I perceived as failing turned into what we know now as math anxiety. And this term describes the tension, apprehension, or fear one feels when faced with mathematical problems. Now, this not only affects our self-perception, but also impacts our students' ability to learn effectively. So here's why math anxiety happens. Its main culprits in the elementary classrooms are time tests, memorization, and negative experiences. Not many educators love the speed races at the board. I know I'm probably the oddball, but even I had negative experiences due to over memorization and a lack of problem solving ability. So, how can we nip math anxiety in the bud? Well, the answer is math centers. A while back, I shared an image on my Facebook page and I asked teachers to comment on how they would solve 47 plus 25. The variety of responses was fascinating. It showed all kinds of different perspectives. Math centers encourage this kind of conceptual math understanding through number talks. When students collaborate with their peers, they see new perspectives and they get to focus on why solutions actually work. And they form new conjectures and make sense of the flexibility of numbers. A few years ago, I decided to ditch those time tests. I figured the time doesn't really matter and tests are not the end point in learning. Learning is a journey, so I wanted my students to learn from their tests together, and the results were fantastic. Students weren't cheating, they were actually gaining ideas from one another. And guess what? It stuck. It stuck with them when it came to the end of the year tests. My students exceeded growth expectations, and that was awesome. Think about your students' brains like drivers on the road, weaving through traffic. Each vehicle is different with various routes and obstacles in the road. It's important to be patient to avoid accidents. The same goes for math problems. We must remain patient. While math centers have time limits, there's no pressure to complete a set of number problems within a minute. Instead, students have time to explore problems thoroughly, navigating tricky parts and thinking clearly about the steps involved. Teach students to give each other time to respond in small groups. You can do this by counting silently to 10 when you ask someone to think of a solution to a problem. This takes the pressure off of them and it provides a space to think. A few years ago into my teaching, I noticed my second graders had really poor experiences with math. This was due to insufficient practice. And according to Marzano and Hattie's high yield strategies, multiple exposures help students learn. I knew they needed more opportunities to explore without fear of being right or wrong. So I created fun games for my students to work on in their math centers. The games and manipulatives turned something that was dreadful into something that was easy, approachable, and fun. It was making it the intimidating dog sit down. And the kids were eager to approach math because it was a game. Games and manipulatives help students visualize abstract concepts, making them more concrete. They transform anxiety-inducing tasks into enjoyable activities. Now, I didn't realize I had math anxiety until college. A professor encouraged us to work collaboratively, and I discovered that I actually really enjoyed math. Despite failing algebra twice, I aced my college calculus. Our beliefs about subjects can spread to others. For example, I love drawing, and my daughter, she also loves drawing. And that's because I see the benefits of drawing, and she sees it the same way. The same goes for our feelings about math. If you're experiencing math anxiety as an educator, there are ways to overcome it. Ask your administrator for professional development recommendations because they often have resources that can support you. Then engage with your team and problem solve strategies and solutions. You can meet weekly with your team to discuss what's working and what's not. Finally, give yourself grace. No one is perfect. The fact that you're watching this shows that you care and you are willing to help your students develop better attitudes. Next week, I'll share how I start my math centers to squash math anxiety and to make your classroom an incredible place where mathematics is celebrated. Subscribe and hit that notification bell for your weekly tips and tricks for teachers. See you next time.